where can we go to get a decent number to kind of work off
Okay,
of?
so very, very quick numbers off the top of my head. $700 to $800 a unit for multifamily. This is not including flood insurance, by the way. Flood insurance is its own thing, which you'll have to add. By the way, the real quick answer, by the way, guys, is call a freaking insurance broker on any property you need. Right? Until you hear it so many freaking times, you're like, okay, I can get a ballpark. And by the way, this is just from New Jersey insurance. So Florida is not going to be $700, $800 a unit for multifamily. I know Eddie's in Jersey. You know, insurance for multifamily in Florida, like I know Sejan is in Florida, or Brian, you know, a bunch of other guys in Florida for multifamily, you might be paying freaking $1,500 to $2,500 a unit for insurance, which is insanity, right? But wind insurance is very expensive. So again, Eddie, I'm talking specifically to your situation. You know, everyone, you got to know your markets. But insurance for multifamily, $700 to $800 per unit. For insurance for retail and warehouse, typically you're going to do somewhere in the vicinity of like $500 to $1,000 per 1,000 square feet. So if you have an industrial building and it's 20,000 square feet, you're probably gonna pay somewhere around 10 to 20 grand in insurance. For certain areas, I'll probably go heavier. For other areas, I won't. Like if it's near the water in New Jersey, I'm probably gonna go closer to the, 1,000 per square foot versus the 500. If it's inland and I'm not gonna worry about flood insurance, I'll probably do 500. Does that answer your question?
Definitely, bro. Thank you.
Quick question about when you have somebody, you send them an LOI, it's rejected, you kind of tried to go the whole different route, they don't want to list, they're overpriced, whatever, and you're putting them on either a 6 or 12 month follow-up plan. How many times are they getting hit, and like what are the texts? I think we walk through a little bit of it, but how many times are you generally calling them? Are you calling them in 12 months, 6 months? Is it case by case, or I'm just trying to set up my
Okay, so again, for 12-month campaigns, remember, it goes for 5 years. It's a 60-month campaign. It's important to realize that, right? These are people who said, I'm not interested in selling, right? Or people who just like really need a freaking price and it's just over market value, right? Like substantially over market value. He wants $10 million for a $6 million property. 12-month campaign. It's a 60-month campaign. I probably would call that person back probably every 90 days just to check in and build rapport or pretend you're like a new person. Depending on how your conversation went, you could call as a different person. It doesn't matter. They're not going to remember you 90 days later, right? Unless you keep saying it's Rodney, right? Like, sometimes I'll just say like, hey, my name is whatever. The name is irrelevant. The problem is that, like, it ends up being something if you keep calling. Like, if you call back every 2 weeks and they know who the heck you are, they're going to ignore you. They're going to block your number. So people have gotten smarter today. So I think it's important to, like, for those types of people, I'm probably 90 days minimum out. For people who, on a 90-day campaign, which by the way goes for 12 months, which means that anybody who is probably going to sell their property within a 12-month period is a 90-day campaign. And then the only other thing that I have besides that is somebody who's a hot lead, right? Which is basically a 30-day campaign. I need to speak to this person just about every single day until they sign something, an LOI or an exclusive, something. And I try to err on that. So for 90-day campaigns, I'm probably calling them back every 30 days because they say to me something like, hey, I want to sell my property sometime this year. I've had a bunch of people like, look, before the end of the year, we definitely want to sell the property. That's a 90-day campaign.
Right.
Like, look, hypothetically, if I got you the price that you wanted today, would you be open to signing a letter of intent where we close in hypothetically 6 or 7 months so you have it closed before the end of the year? So I'll try to bring up time frames. I'm like, listen, you look, 90-day due diligence and 60-day closing. All of a sudden, we're in October, November, December. I try to bring up the time frame mentally, right? In commercial, especially, you can really play with their head a little bit because it really will take that long. This is not a lie, but you can really condense their time frames.
Yeah, as far as like texts go or in emails, like I've seen some of them, but are a lot of them focused around, hey, I have someone else looking through it for a 1031 kind of thing, or
we basically mix it up, text and email, between about a dozen different things, but they're all saying the same, along the lines of the same thing. Are you still open to selling? Or if they're a buyer, are you still open to buying something? Right? That's the premise of every single email, but it's said 12 different ways. Hey, John, it's Rodney again. We spoke a couple months ago. This is an auto text campaign. It could be the same thing on an email, right? We spoke a couple months ago. I have another client who's desperately looking to move some money for tax purposes this year. Just curious if you were still open to selling your property at 123 Main Street. Hey, John, it's Rodney. I was just speaking with a client who's looking to move his business into the area, and I was just curious if you're still open to selling your property, 123 Main Street. Hey, John, it's Rodney. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're saying the same thing, but differently, right? So it sounds different to the person. You said you were open to hearing an offer last time. Hey, John, it's Rodney. Last time we spoke, you said you were possibly open to hearing an offer on the property and possibly wanted to close this year. Is that still something you're considering doing this year? It's all saying the same thing, just differently. And again, you could literally go to ChatGPT and say, hey, give me 15 different ways to say, would you be open to selling your property? I mean, like, don't overcomplicate the simplicity. And I say the same thing, essentially, maybe just a little bit more words via email than via text, right? I try to condense it for text and I send more via email. And what I've also found is that doing double texts are also very, very good.
You mean sending like a longer text in 2 messages?
Or purposely doing it in 2 versus 1. Even if it's a short message.
Gotcha.
And it literally just goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to say something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, make it look more realistic that way. I've seen better results.
Gotcha.
Hey, John, it's Rodney. I was just calling you back about your property 123 right? Or I was just calling you back about 123 Main Street. And then you can second message and be like, I was actually, and by the way, I was just speaking with a buyer who might, who's looking to move some money into the town, into your town. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it looks like you're actually trying to text them like that. Right, and they just go out maybe a minute later. So, anyways, I've had success with that too. Hope that does that answer your question?
Yeah. And you in the last couple, you automate the second one, or do you kind of have your
100% automated? I don't do any of that.
I didn't know you could do that.
That I don't automate, which is technically automated anyways, is the initial text message. Right, like when I'm saying, oh yeah, I'll shoot you a text with my contact information. I just have a thing that I copy paste and I send to everybody just about, and I kind of tweak it a smidge. But also. When I put somebody on a campaign, they also get a message.
Gotcha.
It basically just is the same thing. It'd be like, I also just want, like, it literally goes, also, by the way, I just wanted to send you a text from my business. This is Henry again. I just want to text you from my business line. If you ever need anything, I'm here. Whatever, you know what I mean? You essentially just say the same text, but I just say my business line.
Thank you.
So I need your assistance with the mobile home park. So I never done a mobile home deal. I just want to know if that property is probably overpriced, or if the property does make sense.
Cool. So let's go through it together really fast, all right? So you had sent me a mobile home park recently, which is 19 mobile homes, okay?
Right.
So the one thing I want you all to keep in mind is that I have a dear friend of mine who's very, very, very into the mobile home space. We talk all the time. The reason why I bring that up is because he's on the side of flipping these specific individual mobile homes, not the properties. And the reason why I say that is because the one thing you need to keep in mind is that mobile homes are basically treated in some retrospect like multifamily, okay? One way to look at it. When you're buying parks, which is what this is a 19-unit mobile home park, you have to keep in mind something. You're going to have a 35% expense ratio. So like, you're not going to just have 0 expenses. You're going to have a 35% expense ratio. So when you send me a message and say, hey, owner wants $650, income is $78,000 per year. So when somebody or the owner is talking to you and they say, hey, my income is, let's call it 80 grand. They say it's 80 grand. You're going to estimate 35% expenses immediately. First of all, it might even be 40, especially a small park. So if we're going 40% on 80 G's, 40% is $32,000. That means the net operating income is 48 grand, right? Call it 50 for quick math. If the net income is 50 grand and the owner wants 650, what's the cap rate to start?
7%, 7.3.
What numbers did you do?
The 45,000 divided by
40, yeah, I was doing 50. That's why we came up with different numbers. But okay, I was just confirming.
Oh, actually, yeah, 6.9.
Yeah, so 45 grand into 650, 6.9. And again, I did 50 and it comes to 7.6. It doesn't matter. The point is, what I'm trying to share with you is that in this specific area of Texas, what my brain immediately goes to is that no one's probably going to buy a multifamily deal. Number one, you call it for a 6.9% cap rate, let alone a 7.6. Like, they're just not going to pay a 7.5 cap on a 19-unit mobile home park. Because then the other thing I look at is 2 things, right? So number one, I want to look at cap rates, right? I want to see where I'm at. I want to see what the market looks like. Most of the time, by the way, when you're buying a small park, you want to be buying it at a day 1 10 cap with the ability to bring it to a 12 or a 15. I'm talking about a small park, by the way. Okay, this is not a 300-unit mobile home park. I would buy a 7.5 cap, 300-unit mobile home park, knowing I can bring it to a 9, 9.5, 10. Okay.
But
not 19 units. And then the second thing you have to pay attention to, just like multifamily, is the price per unit. How many mobile homes?
So 19.
19. So ready? I have 650 grand on my phone. You do this divided by 19, what do you get?
34,200.
So you get 34,200 bucks. Here's the thing. You want to check quickly. Can you buy mobile homes cheaper than 34 grand?
Most definitely.
Most definitely. That's the scariest part, right? You run both numbers. Because even if this was a 10 cap, let's say that day 1 I'm netting 80 grand. And he wants 650, so it's a 12 or a 13 cap, whatever it comes to, right? Even though it's a great cap rate, but he wants hypothetically 34, 50, or 40,000, 50,000 a mobile home. I'm not paying 40 grand for a mobile home. You know what I'm saying? So
and what about the add-on value with the 0.50 acres of additional space where you can probably fit like about nine additional mobile homes?
Yeah, so what I like to do is this. I'm not saying it has no value. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that it's like when you look at land to increase hypothetically, whether it's a mobile home park or a multifamily, and they say, oh, well, we have land next door that you can add on. I'm like, okay, well then I still got to pay $25,000 to $30,000 per pad over there, right? Maybe 40 grand. I might have to pay 30 to 40,000 bucks to bring a mobile home over. So I'm like, okay, then that piece of land will perform a value, right? I'm going to spend, let's just call it 35,000 per house, per mobile home. 35 times how many units that can be added?
So about 9.
9.
So 19 plus 9, that's 28 times 35.
What was the first number you just did?
So the 19 current mobile homes plus the
got it.
additional
Yeah.
9.
I'm saying ignore the 19 for a second. Separate deal. We're looking at two different things. So the land, 9 mobile homes times 34 grand. Anyways, if you take, let's just take 35 grand. I'm going to start talking out loud. 35,000 bucks times 9, okay? 315,000 bucks. You take $315,000, right, of cost that it's going to cost me to then put the mobile homes on this, right? Call it even 350 to be conservative, right? Unless you have amazing quotes from a guy who's going to do it for 15 grand, which is just not accurate. Call it 350,000 bucks. Once I have the mobile homes there, so it's going to cost me 350 to do it, right? So that's my cost. What's the value? If you're only making 80 grand right now, 80,000 gross times divided by $80,000 divided by 19 mobile homes, that means, which is $4,200 per mobile home. 4,200 bucks times 12. Oh, hey, John, I can hear you now. That's 50 grand annually. That means I'm going to gross 50 grand a year times let's just say 0.6 for net operating income is going to be 30,000 bucks. 30,000 divided by even at a 9% cap rate is only 336,000. It's going to cost me more than it's worth to put up more mobile homes. So the land.
So I mean, 650 is 650. Once a little too much for the property.
But I'm just saying, like, you see why, like, the land means nothing to me. So if we go back to the 19 units, how much do you think you can pay for a mobile home in your market?
Probably about 20 to 25,000.
So then let's try to find a mobile home park or make an offer to this guy for less than that. I want to pay 19 times 15 grand at most. Does that make sense?
Okay, 285,000.
Yeah, like 300 grand. Just you can round up a little bit. Fine, 300 grand. Because the property is going to be worth at most 25 grand per unit. Because why would I pay $10,000 more per unit? For what premium do I have to pay? We don't have to do that at all. As investors, we don't have to pay a premium if we don't want to. So why would I? But
most likely it's not a deal.
You can tell him right now, I'll make an offer, 300,000 bucks. I'll be your buyer.
Okay.
Okay?
300,000.
And if you want to start at 280 to make sure you lock in a $20,000 commission check for yourself, go for it. Offer him 280. If he comes back and he says, again, I'll do 280, great. We'll pay 300.
Okay, so first thing first, submitting the LOI.
Yep, exactly right. You're going to draft an LOI, draft a letter of intent.
And then negotiate.
Correct, yeah. And do a $5,000 deposit, 300 grand, $5,000 deposit. I'll close in 60 days. 30-day due diligence, 30-day close.
Okay. I'm going to try it out.
Sounds great. Let's do it, man.
Thank you.
You got it.